We better document it.
coming out tonight, and we have Blair and Wes who are tuning in. They're down in St. George, for they're tuning in on over the Zoom. So with that, what we wanted to do is we want to start going through the capital projects for the upcoming fiscal year. It's important that people understand that the information that was on our agenda for tonight is these are I'll go ahead and let Curtis explain, but these are things that are out there. This isn't our official budget. So with that, Curtis, we'll turn the time over to you and let you and the others work through our capital projects.
Awesome. Just scroll up to the top. So just to start off, I want to explain a little bit about the process that we've gone through so far to get to this point. In the past, we've had different capital project sheets. We kind of took a different approach. We want to get it more consolidated. We want to get it more to where we can do different features of sorting and prioritization type of things. So if you look across the bottom of this spreadsheet, you're going to see various tabs. What we did is we sent out sheets to the department heads. And maybe just click on the food pantry tab for just as an example. So basically, they received a blank spreadsheet that was set up like this, and it had some instructions. And what we asked them to do was to just fill out it using each row as a project. And we said put in there things that are capital in nature. So just to remind everybody, capital in nature means it has a cost of over $5,000 and a useful life or a life expectancy of over 1 year. We're going to be using it for more than 1 year. So you could have something where you're going to buy a bunch of desks because you're redoing desks in an office, and maybe each desk is $500 and you're buying 10 desks. That'd be $5,000. But each desk is not $5,000, so that wouldn't go into this sheet. That's more operational. So we tried to help clarify that, and we asked them to classify things on here with an estimated cost. Could there be donations available? When do you think that project's going to start? We asked them how long it would take to complete. We didn't get a good response on that. That's one area. This is the first shot, so it's a learning process. So each one of them got to put in as many projects as they wanted, and then we gave them a spot to provide some notes. They wanted to explain what was going on with the project. So maybe just pop over to Parks and Rec real fast, because you'll see on here, there's a number of notes. And this was their chance to give the city council some explanation of what this project might accomplish, or anything that they wanted to tell about this project to try and start discussion. If we focus in here, you're going to see a column that's labeled priority level. And we told them, we want you to put your estimate of whether or not this is critical, high, or important. Some people say, well, why don't you just do high, medium, and low, or something like, well, we knew that everybody classified their stuff as high. So what we tried to do is give them some criteria of critical means this is needed to continue to provide service for the residents. High is less than critical, but this is rising up there. This is hitting, like, the next step is it's going to become critical. And then important, this is still required to do things. It's just doesn't meet the definition of critical or high. So they've put on their recommendations. So if we pop back over to the summary sheet, what we did is we took every single one of these sheets that we got back and we summarized them for initial discussion purposes. This is meant to start the discussion. This isn't the final say. This is meant to start discussions, which means the city council now gets to use its authority to review every single line on here. You get a chance to say, I want to understand why did you classify this as critical. You get a chance to say, maybe you don't agree with it's critical, and have discussion between city council members to come into an agreement as to what those levels are. We've tried to give you an indication if there might be some other funding available, ideas of when a project will start,
Is that in the notes?
of the funding available.
Yeah.
Yeah, they.
Oh,
both
never
of them
mind.
marked yes, maybe. It says right there. We can drill down in, what would that funding be like? Is it conditional? We didn't have them expand a lot. We just wanted to have an idea if there's something available. Because sometimes that may influence whether a decision moves stuff up. The sheet is formatted with the estimated cost with some conditional formatting. Red means that it's very, very high cost. Yellow has orange and yellow have formatting. When you get down to green, that means it's a lower cost item. So that's not priority levels. The priority levels are in the priority level column, which red is critical. Remember, this is from the department head's points of view. And as assembling this, we didn't do a whole lot. The one thing we did is we went through and looked for anybody who may have put an operational item in. And with those, we pulled the amounts. We may have some formula mess up problems, I just noticed. Jeff, when we were switching stuff up, and we might have pulled some different formulas, we may have to work on this to fix it. Okay. There are some things that we found where people had put some operational items in, such as they wanted a promotion for a person.
Oh.
They wanted payroll increases. Well, that didn't meet the definition of the capital idea, so we went through and we pulled those out. And said, no, those are designed to be presented with operational budgets. So every once in a while we found a study that would be more of an operational type of study, because it's not, operational studies are not meant to be capitalized. They're informative. They do have a lifespan, but they're not really of value. The notes column on this summary page is actually a link directly to the item, or to that tab where this stuff is shown, to help us be able to reference back and forth really quick. So it's just a hyperlink. So that's how the top part of the sheet was organized. Any questions about that, or? And as we're going along in here, if there's something where we need to add some explanation or something, we can add things if it helps the council work along. So let's scroll down to the bottom section. So we're going to go down to like line 124 and show the lines below that. So this section is a summary of everything above. Now, if you remember, in the government world, we have business type accounts that function more off of user fees. This would be like our water fund or treatment plants, sewer collection, storm drain, garbage.
Yep.
Those are business type. And the money collected off of those really can't go over to fund governmental stuff. And so we have general government funds, which is more along the lines of your general fund, your parks fund, even the RDA number 1, RDA number 2 come into play with this. or RDA 2 and 3, sorry, 2 and 3, not 1 and 2, 2 and 3. The fire department EMS fund, those are all funds, those are all governmental funds. So those ones have a little bit different characteristics. What we tried to do down here is summarize by department or area. So you'll see that in lines 126 through 137. And then to help you, what we did is we put some color codes on here. So the very first one, that light blue for food pantry, that's how much they're requesting. And then if you go to columns E and F, that's where we put in the same fund and funds that are available or we're projecting to have available within that fund. So food pantry is a little bit unique because it receives some donations for operating stuff, and it's accumulated over time certain funds that can be used for its capital needs.
And is that for this upcoming cycle?
Yes.
That's the estimated value at this upcoming cycle?
Yes.
Okay.
So we went through, put heads together, looked at how things are operating, and came up with an estimate as we currently project. Could this change? Yes. Historically, we've been fairly accurate. So the light blue corresponds. The next one is kind of a light, I don't even know what that is, like tannish
Salmon.
type thing for Parks and Rec. And you can see for recreation. And also for parks, we have money available that can be used there. Now, parks is a little bit unique in the fact that there's park impact fees that would only be used for impact fee eligible projects. But there's also some other funds that could be used to help meet what parks is projecting. If you look at the dark blue for storm drain has some fund balance available and it also has impact fees. It has a relatively low amount of capital. Now, what that tells me immediately is we may need to reevaluate what's on the impact fee schedule and see timing wise and consider what do we have there. So that is an area that we need to address. If you look at treatment plant, the kind of light green lime-ish, you can see that they've got $6.4 million worth of requests. They've got $7.1 million available. So I've tried to help you see where funds are available. The big thing to note, treatment plant really can't be used to help storm drain, can't be used to help water. The treatment plant is for treatment plant.
Yeah.
When we look at the water fund, the purplish color there, violet color, you can see they've got $8 million worth of requests and only $3.7 million on hand. There could be, there's some questions there. We need to figure out how do we balance this out. And so the top part of columns E and F, you'll see funding available, and those are your business type funds. Those are very specific. They go specifically across to their related funds and the requests. You notice sewer isn't on there. Sewer didn't really have anything that they requested. It actually has very little fund balance anyway, so we're okay there because we just did a major project. Garbage isn't on there because garbage really doesn't have any capital needs right now. So what it tells you is there's no capital requests, there's no need to look at funds available. If you go down, then you see funds that have been assigned or restricted. That's where food pantry comes in. That's pretty restricted. Recreation, and especially parks, that's pretty restricted. RDA number 2, that's been assigned into the RDA 2 area, which is the downtown RDA area.
Yep.
You'll say, well, why isn't RDA 3 on there? Well, RDA 3 is low-income housing. It's more of an assistance. It's not really a capital type thing, per se, the way the city's got the low, moderate income housing plan. So it doesn't have any capital requests. It doesn't have any capital showing. Then if you scroll down a little bit farther, Cynthia, to the funds that can be reassigned or moved. This is where the city has set aside funds into a capital projects fund, a capital projects equipment fund, capital projects transportation capacity fund, and there's also some funds that we're projecting will be available in the general fund. Those funds have been designated, assigned, if you will, for types of projects, but the council has full ability to move that based off of the discussions that we start having. So you can see we've got about $9.3 million that we're projecting available to start satisfying the needs. When you look at all the requests, that number, it can feel very overwhelming.
Yeah.
What we want to do is try and break this down into pieces that we can bite. If you want to focus on funds, if you want to focus on projects, that part I'm willing to just help guide a discussion, but it's really meant for questions, answers. If we need to schedule time for different departments to come in and explain things, if you want us to go back through and get information, we have that chance. But it's really, this sheet is designed to encourage discussion, especially among the city council members. We can answer all sorts of questions. We really want you guys to have the information so that you can give direction as to where should the city be looking to invest, really. I mean, capital projects are about one-time investments that will last for a long time. So that's a basic introduction to the sheet.
Are roads on here?
Roads, yes. So there's public works streets for 1.35 million. There's also transportation capacity for almost 8.6 million.
Something that I think would be helpful, and I mean I can run it in this spreadsheet on my own if I need to, would be if we scroll up just a little bit, if we could have this same department just down just a tad here in the department summaries, if we could have that by year, because knowing, okay, food pantry, the 163, that's all of it through 2037, right? So if we could see when to expect that by year in columns, that'd be super helpful. Because that 137 or that 163 might be in year 2037, so we've got time. So I think that'd be a helpful view for me to be able to tell the whole story as to the timing of these correlative to when they're needed. If we could do that, and again, I can do it on my own if we need to, but I think we're all gonna want that view. If that'd be awesome, that'd be super helpful.
I'll put it at the bottom of each sheet so that it's not, or unless you want me to overlay them so you can see it all comparatively, or I guess, do you want it on the summary sheet with all of them overlapped, or do you want it?
I mean, even if you just took this and copied it and added some cells, but then added 26, 27, 28, so it just broke that out in columns below.
Okay.
So is the food pantry if you clicked on the food pantry tab down there, does it show the years?
It does. Yeah, so if you click on food pantry, I can see why you'd want it in summary.
Yeah.
We were trying to keep the sheet, I will openly admit, when I started the sheet, I was trying to keep it as basic as possible
Yep.
to avoid an overwhelming, oh my gosh, I've got way too much information overload here.
No, this is a lot of work, by the way. Like, thank you. This is phenomenal.
Department heads, Jeff did a lot to pull it together. Lindsay was chasing down department heads, so
Yep.
this has been a very collaborative effort. And believe me, I can't thank the people enough for helping pull the information together. So we can get discussion started at city level, but I think we can put our heads together and figure out some way to do that.
Because I think if we had it on that sheet with those years, it makes it real easy for capital planning purposes. Okay, like it's actually already here. We can pull the trigger on these items. We're gonna have a gap between here and here. So today we've got to execute so that when that day gets there, we're ready to go, you know?
You want it as a graph too, so you can kind of see the chunks as and how they add up to the total.
We gotta be a little bit careful, because I don't wanna get it too summarized.
Yeah.
Because I don't wanna mix those restricted type funding sources
It's a good
with
point.
the non-restricted. I mean, I can see timing it out and seeing when we're gonna have things available. I think I understand where you're coming from, Bo.
Yeah.
This is one of those areas where I don't wanna aggregate too much, because it could leave a misconception if we take some of the 7 million of treatment plant.
Yeah.
And they really can't give that up.
I mean, this is so incredible if we have, you know, by year, because if we can see that 2.3 for library is in, you know, 2030,
Sure, yep.
and there's nothing prior to that, we can start today allocating budget toward it so that by the time we get there, it's just sitting there waiting.
But if that's in 27.
But if it's in 25,
Well, nothing's 25. We
We've
pull
got
out
problems,
everything
or-
26.
okay,
So we gotta remember, fiscal year goes on when the fiscal year's gonna end. So we're talking fiscal year through
June.
26.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah, everything in here, we've got it lined up to where no project would start earlier than July 1st, 25.
Yep.
But it would have to start by June 30, 26 for the projects that'd be 26. So you'll see 26, 27, 28. We asked people to focus on like the next 5 years. People obviously went down, out a little bit farther. If you scroll down, you'll see people went all the way out to 2037. Some people put in 0 because they're like, we need this, we just don't know when it'll start, because we don't have money available. But it's designed where you can go through the tabs and see what it is. And we can identify all of that, but we can create that summary by year.
That'd be awesome.
What year does the Utopia mature?
42, I want to say. I think it's, I don't have my financial statements with me. Well, actually I do. Never mind. Give me half a second, I'll answer that. My computer will wake up.
That'd be some additional funding we can have. While you're looking,
I know
it's in the 40s.
I am 90% positive that it doesn't end until the 40s.
Okay. Let me scroll to the top of that, just so at the very, very top, I'm sorry. Okay, so let's look at the very first one, new building critical, 25 million. Funding, yes. What does yes mean? Where do we have the funding?
Funding available meant like, could we go find funding? Like, is there grants or are there outside funding we can go get? That's what the yes means.
What does the maybe mean?
We're not sure and we didn't look far enough to find out. And no was probably not.
Outside funding. That's what this is talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the note on the new building, it says consolidation could save a lot. What was the idea there? That
you could stack, like the library, the police department, and admin building could have a lot of cost savings being in one structure.
I see. Okay. Got it.
Utopia ends fiscal year 2040 according to the current status.
Okay, thanks.
When did that start? To 10 or 11 or something?
I thought it was 2003 or 4.
I know it was later than that. It was maybe 7 or 8.
2012, they redid the agreement.
That was about
That's when
10
bonds
then.
were issued. The-
5 or 6 years ahead of that,
Yeah,
and they came back and
Right.
redid it.
I know they redid it in 12, so I think it was more like 2000.
Yeah, I can remember going through that. Okay.
Where would the fire department budget capital projects typically come out of? The funds that can be reassigned and moved, is it capital projects that it would come out of?
Fire department could come out of any of those.
Any of those bottom?
Yeah, some people ask, well, why don't we have anything in the from the fire department itself? It doesn't have enough fund balance to do anything other than cover its operations, so there was no projected fund balance available there.
So if we were to, on this summary sheet, in the same, if we scroll down a little bit, if we also kind of lumped these together, so if we could break that across, so we know that we've got that available, and then that is just correlated.
When you say that, you gotta help me.
Public Works, so the blue, like the ones that match up,
Uh-huh.
if we just have them side to side, and then if we lumped all of these other ones that can be with the lower chunk, so if we just grouped them side to side,
Okay. So you wanna have
So they
more
read
like the
across.
departments have water and then
yeah,
sort of treatment plant.
yeah,
Yeah, we can reorganize that.
just a few tweaks. Again, I can do it if somebody, but I think we're all gonna want to see it that way. So
Yeah, we can group them to where you got ones that are more similar and then ones that are, so we'll do the business type probably at the top so that they match up. Cause those ones are really tight.
yeah,
And then, food pantry, parks, we can bring those more in line.
and if we have those
And then
summed up,
more the
yeah,
assigned areas. so
Cool.
that, Yeah, we can do a little bit different formatting.
cool.
So Curtis, so are we?
I have a
gonna
question.
sit down And start talking about each item on it, or just want us to ask questions?
Any way you guys want to go. I mean, really, it's meant for discussion. So
Yeah.
if somebody wants to talk about an individual line, we'll talk about individual lines.
Can we go back up to the fire department?
I know somebody on the Zoom was trying to butt in, but you got overridden like a while, so.
On the fire department, for instance, let me get ambulance 32 high, ambulance 34 important, ambulance 31 high. I mean, are we replacing ambulances here, or is this in addition to what we've already got?
I'd have.
That's replacing.
Replacing, so I thought we were prorating money on a monthly basis to replace these ambulances so that when they wore out, we would automatically have money sitting there to replace them. Are we doing that? We were told we were doing
We're
that.
trying to save money. I know we've started getting ideas and trying to set aside money for those. And typically that was going into, pretty sure it was going into the equipment, capital projects equipment. Trying to set aside money for police car replacements and things like that and putting money aside for that. So, like I say, we just put down the funding that's available and then let the council decide which ones they want to use. So that we can, it's the council saying this is where we want the money to go. So,
I do like that idea of putting so much money aside so then when on everything, right? So that we have the money in there when it comes time to spend it, instead of having to come up with more.
and I think the way I kind of view it right now, we're really trying to improve this process, and so we can refine that. I'm kind of considering this as ground zero. Let's get the council started off. Let's get us all on the same page. If you want to say, look, we need to set aside enough money right now for this much in police vehicle replacements, ambulance, tell us, and we'll start creating accounts that would set that up so we can track it better. So we're.
Attaboy, Jeff. Attaboy. Hey, can you do one more?
I guess so.
Can you filter that do that as important, and then, the three different categories? Can you add one more filter to them?
Man, you just want the world.
Well-
No, I get.
So I'm just looking at this at a very high level, trying to be productive. If we've got 9.2 available, 12.9 in requests, we have to whittle down 3.
Yeah, but you got treatment plant in there. So this is where we gotta.
Get 'em side to side.
We
Okay.
gotta pull some of that.
Okay.
And get the units, get the things together. This is not the last meeting that we're having on this. We will work on it and bring it back, send it out. And keep
Beautiful.
working on it. Cause I'm very sympathetic to what you're saying.
I get what you're saying too. Yeah,
can't-
that makes
can't
sense.
Include treatment plant for 3.5 million when we've already got the money for treatment plant.
Yep, yep, yep. Okay.
So, as we go through this, and we're gonna all have homework assignments here,
You will.
to go back and start to, not just familiarize ourselves with it, but also come up with some, it may even require that we, at a couple at a time, maybe we get together and meet and talk about this. But I think there's, April 1st or April, whatever the first meeting is in April, we only have a few meetings.
Somebody
actually
canceled
work
a
on
meeting
this.
in the middle of April. I don't know who's going on vacation or
I
what's
know,
going
I
on.
know, I
They don't
know.
understand. This is budget season, folks. This is
No.
like tax season. You get your butt in the office. No, I'm joking.
Well,
I-
but we do, and maybe your help to guide us a little bit
Absolutely.
and help us to,
Does that work well?
Hey, I got a question. This is Blair. Is it acceptable to us if we got questions with department heads to find out the reasoning or on some of them capital or not?
If you get back from St. George,
Okay, so I'll give you my opinion.
Well, for instance, who made the city office the critical for 25 million or even that, the fire station and all that, and then there's no timeline? That just seems weird.
I
18,000 and no timeline,
18 million.
or 18 million.
wish it was 18,000. I might have been in
But
the
I-
1800s. But from my personal opinion, this is just my personal opinion, I would encourage discussion. I mean, I know you can't interrupt people's day too much, but Mayor's probably going to have more input than I will on this. But I mean, the more information the department heads can provide to you, the better off everybody is. It's the only thing I would caution is if one council member goes out and talks to a department head, make sure that information gets communicated to all the other council members. This isn't, I've seen, not here, but I have seen places where, ooh, I got a piece of information, I'm gonna hold it until I can
spring it on you, huh?
spring it on everybody. And that's not the purpose of this spreadsheet. This spreadsheet is meant for open discussion, sharing, trying to really analyze how does the city want to meet the needs? And Bill, you may have more feelings.
Well, just a word of caution on that. If we're discussing priorities and things, we ought to do them in a public meeting to make sure that things are being discussed in the light of day. We can get down a rabbit hole pretty quick if we start talking amongst ourselves yeah, so if you have something to share, or if you'd like something brought to the attention of the council, please let me know, and then I will forward that to the rest of the council. That is kind of a workaround, because if you have the conversation amongst yourselves, it looks like there's
Collusion or something.
shady or whatever. We just want to avoid that appearance, and so either save it for the meeting and don't do a gotcha, because no one likes stump the staff, but it's every council's favorite game, stump the staff. But and we also don't like stump the rest of the council either. Showing up with a nugget of information that is pertinent to a conversation is good, but share it with me or the mayor, and we'll get it around to the rest of the council. But yeah, just that word of caution on that.
So, with our timing, when we have to get this budget approved and that type of stuff, have we got time to have the department heads come in and just talk us through so we can get a feel from them?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, so that we're all hearing the same story at the same time and
Yeah.
we're all on the same page.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's our job.
This be an April 1st workshop?
Absolutely.
What is that date?
That's on Tuesday. That, Blair asked the question, who put it critical on that, we would be able to get a feel
Well,
as to what's going on.
yeah, and the answer is that,
What they want.
exactly, and it's critical for the department heads. The reflection of how critical it is based in the funding that you guys throw at it. So if it's not critical, we'll find that out pretty quick when we decide we don't have money for this right now. So we'll put a pin in that. I think the other thing is that the critical meant there is something about the situation that is either untenable or unsafe or just needs to be addressed sooner rather than later for a host of reasons, including markets and all kinds of other things. For example, a new building is not going to get any less expensive if we wait 20 years. So starting to think about it now and find funding and other things is going to be important as soon as possible. Now, as soon as possible doesn't mean do it today. It means do it when it makes the most sense.
So, this is, and we can send out the instruction page that was sent, but critical is defined as if the project is not completed, then the city will be non-compliant with federal or state regulations that could result in fines or loss of funding, or citizens' lives will be endangered, or there will be a significant disruption to the operation of the city. We felt that was,
Say that again?
so it'll be non-compliant with federal or state regulations that could result in fines or loss of funding, or citizens' lives will be endangered, or there will be significant disruptions to the operation of the city. We used an example, for example, a deficiency has been identified in a water line that could result in loss of water to a section of town would be classified as critical. So we're looking at non-compliance issues, we're looking at disruption of city operations. That was the definition that went out with the page.
Okay, well,
So-
a playground at Schuman Park wouldn't fit into that.
We did not review how they we gave them basic guidelines to understand. High priority is defined that if the project is not completed, there could be disruptions to city services, or the citizens could experience disruptions that result in a high level of complaints, trying to keep people off your backs.
Yeah.
For example, a road could be identified as being too narrow, resulting in traffic accidents or complaints by residents. Important is defined as projects that have been identified as needed to meet the needs of the city, but the residents, but do not meet the definition of critical or high. So those were the basic guidelines that went out, and more than willing to share those with the city council. We did not go through and review anybody's classifications. This is designed to start the discussion, but
This is their idea of their importance, whether it's critical or important or.
Yeah,
I'd
so-
love to propose if we could have the city each department review the sheet one more time under those classifications, and then make those additional changes to the years for planning, and break the data up a little bit, and then have in April 1st the ability to sit with each department head and just ask follow-up questions. I think that'd give me the context I need for
Okay.
for budget season. I don't know how everybody else feels, but those minor changes, I think we could go a long way.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
And I think that standard needs to be followed, okay? Because I look at criticals and I'm thinking, these are important, and they are. I'm not saying they're not important, but it doesn't meet your criteria on some of these critical.
and even the
Patience.
definition of critical is open for discussion. We put that out as a general guideline, trying to really get people focused on what we thought was important to the city council. And I do think having a department head coming in and answering is fantastic. I answer to you guys all the time.
Do you
I don't have a
think,
problem.
would this make sense, like, if you go to Parks and Rec, on the tab on the bottom, could he go through and rank those things one through, I mean, what's the most important and on down?
Prioritize.
Yeah, just kind of in his mind rather than the critical, because there's not a lot of, there's some, but not a lot of criticals that will fall within Parks and Rec because they don't meet that specific criteria, but they're still important, and we'd like to know what his priorities are. I don't know.
Like I said, this was designed to help.
Thank you
really
for building this
try
this
and
far.
get it down. If there's some different way that the council wants to see it, we're totally open to that idea. I will tell you, I went down the path first of having people rank in their priorities. And just as this spreadsheet is showing, many things people just put, if 5 is high and 1 is low, they'll put 5s on everything. I don't know how to get around that. I mean, we put out a definition that we thought was somewhat clear, and we still have some things that obviously people are saying, well, I don't think that's critical. That's why this discussion's here to have, is you get a chance to re-rank them and say, no, this is ours. And if you want to change how we criteria, I'm so open to that, please.
So, I mean, I am appreciative also, all the work and effort that everybody's put forward, but the definitions that you've used right there, you know, is of question when you go down through these things. I mean, I don't know how many times I've sat with people, I need to say this, on a personal basis, when you're helping with a family budget, you always have to define what's a need and what's a want. And you've tried to do that, what's critical to the operation to keep going. And a need is something that is life-sustaining. You have to have it. And a want is something that doesn't fit that criteria. It's really quite simple. So, you know, Brett's asked, I think, a really important thing. I'm not even sure we'd have to have the department heads come in if they prioritized on their list what was most important to them to get done. If each one of them did that, that would really help in each one of the departments. And that'd give us a feel for what's going on. But I think they need to go back in and redo these questions as to what's critical and what's a need and what's a want. I think they really need to go back through that again.
Bill, is that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we can absolutely do that. We've got a staff meeting coming up the 27th, so
They can relook at how they've classified what's a need and what's critical, and then them prioritize.
okay.
It may just be one other category other than critical, important, and high. You know, it may be some other category, but
Well, I'm very interested to hear if a department head has put it as critical, we need to know why. That's
yeah.
there's a need driving that. That's important to understand. There's going to be context there.
Yep.
That's important to gather.
To do that, and
Yeah.
some of them did a better job at responding to that than others. But
So as far as the heads go, I just want that message loud and clear from city council. We're here to get your back. Like we want the feedback. We want to know why you're asking for that thing. We're not just trying to say no. Let's open that discussion up. But if we just refilter based off that criteria, update the spreadsheet, get that sent to us as city council as soon as we can, and then on April 1st, have the ability to have each department head just go through quick questions, you know, any other concerns that we have, then I think we could really be productive getting to whittling that sheet down.
We got several department heads here. Is that something that is doable on your side?
Yeah, I personally would love to sit down with council and explain why the top most critical things are critical for our future. I'm very comfortable with that, so yeah, I think we should. But I can only speak for me and the police department, so.
Yeah, well, I'd like to hear, you know, maybe Zach, what are your, I mean, is this something that you feel good about
I feel
going?
especially with the community services, if we don't view quality of life as critical, then we have some explaining to do to you guys. So that's where I think my part would be important.
Yeah.
And coming back and you know, revisiting this and sort of fine tuning it is something, Carl, all,
This is Carl's budget.
Well, I feel like public works has some advantages in that we have our own pockets of protected funding that go to each one, and we've matched those pretty closely. And so, as far as
Your capital's sitting in the bank account ready?
Yeah, it's pretty much there, and if there was an ask that's a lot higher than what we have, then we're happy to provide that kind of information as well, but I think we just have a little bit more advantage than some of the other departments, and we're sort of matched pretty closely right now.
Can I ask a question? Would there be an advantage to adding more categories on this sheet before we send it back, Zach? Because like Schuman Park was put as critical, but you did that for a reason. And so is there a different category structure that we could use that would more cater to what you're trying to communicate to us?
I believe so. I think that there's some of those that are needed for our department to perform at a high level. But is it critical for the city to continue to have shelter, water, air, that kind of thing? It's not. And so if those are our definition of critical, then I believe maybe there's 2 or 3 departments only that may fall within that.
Yeah.
So having a separate line for some of us other departments that we feel we are still critical to the quality of life part, like I mentioned, but maybe not to those highest basic needs for life, then maybe there's something we need to add.
Should we add one more in there?
Would work, and maybe like highest or some word that just says,
Yeah.
this is very important to this department and we need to look at it.
Like you feel like it would functionally, your department couldn't continue to succeed without that? Is that kind of like what you're trying to say?
Or pretty much. I mean, it's hard. Do you want me to come up, speak a little bit, or?
Well, I wanted to say, with regard to Schuman Park, someone's brought that up and, you know, you think, well, Schuman Park is fine. Why do we need to do that? But then he's got in his notes that there is some damage to the equipment at Schuman Park, and replacing the entire structure is something that we need to do as soon as possible so that people don't get hurt out there, you know? And so that's.
Is that why it was put on critical?
Yeah,
critical
the
in that
slide
case.
is- has a, it's broke, so if anyone goes down that slide, they're gonna get cut, more than likely. So we have it shut down right now, and it's a 15-foot slide. Then the other slide is kind of the same thing. We're able to put a panel on that though, so we are about 22 years in a 25-year lifespan for a park or for a playground. So in my view, it is critical so that no one gets hurt. Either that or we just start ripping out structures so they can continue, but then we have no parking.
Yeah, and I think safety helps put it into that category for sure.
So I think that opens up a really healthy dialogue, because could we break out the playground as a critical part, and then there's some other parts that would be high? You know, could we break that out a little bit, just budgetarily, to kind of dissect out which ones are,
That's what he's done here on this.
okay.
500,000 is just the playground.
So when you think of a playground, I
Got
mean,
it.
there's multiple aspects, right? If you're just thinking, I want a large structure for 6 to 12-year-olds and that's it, that's 80 grand. But if you want something that encompasses 0 up to teen and have an appropriate fall structure, a realistic number for a full rebuild for a full playground is 500,000. So I mean, it depends how, if we just want to cater to one group, then we can do it on the cheap. That's what we've done at North Park and at Meadow Park. But you can see the teens kind of overrun it, and then the little kids have nowhere to go because the teens take over.
I gotta ask a question. How did the slides get broke?
We don't know, they were good in the winter or in the fall, and then we were doing a spring check and 2 slides broke right down the middle. So we tried to fill it with foam and try to epoxy it for now to get by until we can get a replacement piece. But again, I mean, it's 22 years and most playgrounds are 25-year max life expectancy. So it's just reaching the end of its age.
So nobody abused it then?
Not that we're aware of. Something could have fallen on it, or maybe somebody did take a hammer or something to it.
They're pretty bulletproof. I mean, they make these things out of
I mean, you talk about spending 500 more thousand, and if somebody's out there wrecking it, it's kind of like, maybe we ought to be thinking about that too, so.
So I will say, when we developed the criteria, some of the aspect was, if somebody classifies something as critical, that's something the council should be discussing.
Yeah.
And so we wanted this type of dialogue
Yep.
among all the critical aspects. And so from that standpoint, I think it's doing its job. The council can legitimately delve into each one of those and discuss the nature of it. Is it critical? And then you get a chance to prioritize within the budget situation, where does it stand? And these are gonna be tough discussions and tough decisions, but I worry about diluting even farther down from critical high. I mean, I'm okay adding like a 4, but at some point dilution becomes dilution. And it becomes harder to have it. People will want their item discussed, so they're gonna try and push it up into a higher category. That's just human nature. So just as we're having this, remember, this is to encourage dialogue, exactly like what we're having here.
That's right.
I
know-
love it.
I know
Let's have
that,
some more.
I know the notes sort of explain why, but I'm just wondering, when Zach was explaining, the reason why this was a critical issue, if there could be maybe just another column in there and, the equipment the equipment's damaged, why is this a critical issue? I think that in my mind, that would help me out a little bit too, even though I understand that it's over here in the notes, and I get it. But maybe just having sort of a 1 or 2 word description of why.
And I think a lot of the department heads, this is actually our first time doing this as well, so I think we're just learning
Yep.
together what.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I bring it up, Zach, because I want you, what I want you to hear from us is we want to know why you think that's critical. That this isn't a challenge of why it shouldn't be on here. It's a, hey, what is the issue here? Let's hear it so that we can have that context when making the budget, because it's important to know. And you guys know better than we do.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, Zach, what would you prioritize that? Would that be your number one on the list?
If we can find a replacement, I mean, it's 22 years old, so I don't know if we can find a replacement for that slide. Otherwise, we get it ripped out until we can find funding, and we just go without a slide in that part. So, to me, it's a critical thing, for the residents, for that. But, I mean, under that definition, really, it's something we can make do, and get by with. But as more pieces go and go and go, eventually, in the
Okay.
5 years max, I think everything will be gone anyway.
Well, out of everything we've talked about, Curtis, if each one of the department heads can prioritize their number one through however many numbers, and if we can hear from them, so we can understand what's going on, then we can
Yeah.
see what needs to happen.
Absolutely. I totally, this is why we didn't want to do anything with the categorization. We just put it in the way that it came, because I think each department head has the ability to explain why they put it the way that it did. This one, citizens' lives would be endangered. They are. I mean, if you go down a slide and somebody breaks, their life is endangered. It might be not taking their life, but their health, their life is endangered. So from that standpoint, Zach's got a very valid point. Now the city council gets to say, how are we going to address this issue?
I think if we could just readdress these one more time, because things like, I do see pickleball courts on here as critical. I don't think that's life threatening. And so if we could look through them one more time, knowing that those categories are really important, and then have the opportunity to chat,
Yeah. No, I think that's good.
and priority. I like that idea.
When we look at that summary sheet and I see red on there, that tells me we need to act on the reds. Okay, and so we're gonna look at every one of those, and we're gonna prioritize them as the highest thing that we need to be working towards. And so, part of the problem I see is I feel a little bad going in and telling someone it's not critical or it's not a high priority when it is to them, but that decision is going to have to be made.
Happens all
Together.
the time.
Yeah.
My kids had several critical needs that got bumped
Yeah.
down to, yeah, I don't think so. And that's a bad example. I don't mean to, just, every family deals with that. And when you come to a city, these are challenges that they're properly addressed at the city council level. The department heads, all of us can communicate a whole bunch of needs. But at the end of the day, your guys are the ones that have to stand in front of the citizens and say, this is where we put the bucks. Or in the case, this is why we needed more money. I mean, I don't know how to address $131 million. This is us working together.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Good. Any other, Blair or Wes, do you have any comments?
Yeah, we just agree. I mean, just like fire department stuff, I know either one of them, I don't see how they could be critical, especially a training tower. I don't understand.
Oh, I do. Yeah, we have to have that for our insurance rating, so without a training tower, the next time that the fire insurance study gets done, all of the industrial parks fire insurance is gonna go up because we don't have a training complex fitting up to keep their fire insurance down.
What happened to our training?
County took it down because the county removed it.
Well, it's critical because it has a direct effect on what all of our new industrial parks are gonna be feeling here the next time the rating goes through.
So I think, to your point, if we could have, as the department heads go through, just why is that critical? Why does it meet that description?
Not just that description.
Yeah, and then come April 1st, we can really zoom in on a couple of those if we still have heartache with any of them. And if not, it's a critical issue that we need to address.
The other thing, maybe, we're showing a new building for 25 million and the new fire station for 18. We really don't have a time when it would start, but maybe we ought to be saying, this is something we need in 10 years, or this is something, so we can start setting aside money. I know we talked about this, but, when we see red and 25 million, it sort of makes you think, well, this is something we got to do right now. But really what we're looking at is we've got to have a new building. That might happen in 10 years from now, but we need to start preparing for it.
and that's exactly the type of stuff that we want to capture as the council makes a decision.
Yep.
And then get it in here so that then there is a target date that we add in here as to when is that project going to start? Is it on a schedule? If it doesn't have a date, it won't get funding.
Well, that's just it. We don't have a project start date here and years to complete. We don't know.
That's
And
why-
so that's the part of the information I think that would be helpful as we start preparing for the
This
future.
is what I'm saying, this is where the council has to discuss it and say, do you agree? Because if you talk to a vast majority of people around here, they'd like to see the new facility start within the next 5 years.
Yep.
I don't know what the council wants. We really need direction from the council to say, yes, we want this, and here's when we think we want to start it. So then you can task everybody involved with, okay, how are we gonna get there? Because pipe dreams are pipe dreams. There's a funny commercial on now about a guy saying he's gonna remodel his kitchen. He designs all these plans. It's not until his financial advisor says, well, let's set you up with a savings plan to get there so you can actually do it. And that commercial is really funny to me because as we come into this, a lot of people have talked about a new city office building for at least the last 10 years. And it's been, oh yeah, that'll happen sometime in the future. We'd like to see, when would the city council like to target for that?
Well, that's kind of what I'm trying to get at here is let's start setting a date, some sort of a goal
That's what you guys are here for.
Yeah.
We will type that date in. Cynthia would love to type.
Same thing with, some of the other, same thing with the other, some of the other ones that are, we really don't have like 188 acres of land. It's a critical issue, 7.2 million, but how do we, it's just the how. How do we go about it?
And as a discussion point, after April 1st, and hopefully not too far after that, we will have agreed upon what is critical, what is not, what is high, what is important.
Yeah.
We will have agreed upon those items, and now it's more about the how rather than the what, right? We'll know, okay, this is what needs to happen from critical to da-da-da, and the important item, or the lower items can fall off but we'll know at least we prioritize the highest projects first.
What we can accomplish this budget year.
Yeah.
You may
And then-
consider sliding the years,
Yep.
This is a multifaceted
Yep.
prong. If somebody's like going, look, yeah, I can't get it this year, but I can get it 2 years from now.
Yep.
I mean, this is designed to be us all working together to see how do we accomplish the real important work of the city.
Excellent. Yeah, no kidding.
This is a phenomenal start.
Yeah. Any other questions, Lyle?
No, we appreciate what you're trying to put together, everybody. We just want to be supportive of everybody the best we can too.
And understand the funding mechanisms.
Bo, do you have anything else?
No, just thank you. Let's get those iterations done, comb through it, and I think by April 1st, we'll have a great
I believe so as well. Yeah, this is great. A great start.
Okay, so I just want to summarize so that I make sure we keep ourselves task oriented and accomplish the council's point. One, we wanted all of the departments to review their sheets again, look at the instructions, especially look at the priority level, and review that. They should be prepared to come with their order of priority. If something has equal prioritization, what is their recommendation of, this is my
I
top?
would say if they had like 4 in the critical, that should be 1, 2, 3, 4, And
They
they
need
could
to
do that
be
in
able
each
to
one of those
prioritize
categories.
Each one of those categories.
Right, right.
And be ready to.
That would be helpful for
No,
me.
put it on the sheet.
Okay, see, it'll be back on their individual sheets.
If we added a column,
This is a summary sheet.
I think if we just added a column to their individual sheets with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
To their
then we would
individual
know,
sheets.
yeah.
Do you want one to be the highest or one to be the lowest?
One to be the highest, one to be the highest.
First to fourth.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's their number one need.
Number one need, okay, one to 5, and they don't get to repeat numbers.
And it would make sense then that those would go critical down to,
1 to 30.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. It'll go one going down, but they don't get to repeat numbers.
yep.
They have to prioritize their specific list, is what we're saying.
That is essential.
Okay,
And the why. And just why is this critical? Why is this important?
so make sure the notes have what they're specifically shooting after.
There's
It would
just,
be helpful, yeah, that'd be
there's
very.
too many variables if we don't have it. I don't know how you could make a decision, educated.
Jeff, I don't think this would be very hard, but on this sheet here, as we're sitting discussing, are we able to just click criticals and just the criticals come up in a list? So we
Yeah.
can just and start talking
Yeah.
about those and then the highs?
Yeah, it was sorted at the top on the one that I have. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
If you prioritized like you did that pivot table that had the years,
Yeah, I already did.
but just as critical, yeah. And
I
then
can either do with the filter or a slicer.
Okay, thanks.
that'd be awesome.
That's why we have him.
Wunderkind.
Okay,
I,
so,
I have something to add, maybe.
Yeah,
So, the place of my employment, and if you go for big ticketed items, capital, you have to put something together, a PowerPoint to sell it, to see, because you're competing, really, they're competing with everybody else for what money's there. And if they're over, $1 million or whatever, then they ought to maybe put something together to show us. I don't know. It's just, obviously, we would want to fund it all, but we can't, so that's, maybe a little bit more justification on them big ticketed items to show how far out, or if it's a portion or whatever, so just,
Could I talk to that point?
Yeah, sure.
That's kind of the point of this exercise, and hopefully, with these questions that we have, and with the department heads coming in a couple of weeks to discuss these things in detail, we can have that resolved and get those questions and concerns addressed. But really, what we're hoping to do is kind of take the politics out of this question, so that it's on the schedule, it's in the plan. We all know way in advance what's coming down the pike and what the requirements are for that, so that as each thing gets addressed, it moves up on the critical scale, and we address the things that are of immediate concern first, and then we address those things further down, and as time and money allows. What we don't want is for people to show up and feel like they have to do a dog and pony show for every bolt and nut and car and
Yep.
new police vest and everything else that just needs to be purchased. If the city approves, if the council approves the budget, department heads should feel comfortable going out and procuring the things that they have been
Absolutely.
approved.
Yes.
Yep.
right, that wasn't my intent. I'm talking about the 18 million, or the big, great big ticketed that we don't really know the whole need. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's-
Obviously, the small.
That's fair too, and if we have proposals like that, of course, we're gonna get that in front of you with a project timeline and
That goes
funding
through the
sources,
30
the whole 9 yards that way. So yeah, those kinds of things are definitely what we will spend our time doing, and that's, you're absolutely right on that.
And just so we know, this is the start of really trying to provide more comprehensive information to the council. So those may be things where you actually come back through, and when you don't know why you're gonna meet in August, you have a meeting in August to have those presentations. So that, they're not crunched right here, all here in the budget season, but we have a chance to really review things all the way throughout the year and have some of those discussions, because we'll be starting to plan for the next upcoming capital project season. So I can totally see those, we just may not need to cram them in right now.
Okay.
As part of that discussion, we brought this up last time, but inside some of those categories, there's going to be priorities as well. For example, roads, right? We've got certain roads that need to get hit now, and then some that, and I think we have a list of that. And how do we address that or see that?
Roads as far as like,
What roads were?
What are prioritized roads?
so
They're coming up, and
we'll have filters on this, and so you'll be able to, if you click over to the
Yep.
Public Works tab, on here,
okay.
they've got all of
It covers that.
the streets that are on this list, so you'll be
That's
able
what
to
I
see
wanted.
it
Thank you.
right on. This is why we wanted the department heads to provide those sheets, so that then the council will have those. So the summary will give you basic information, but the back sheets are where those that want to dig in more can dig right into it.
This is really gonna, I think, create a synergy between department heads and city council, because we all have a vision of what good looks like, and it's just about execution at that point, or modifications. But yeah, to your point, like, there's not gonna be weird friction for the police department to have to come and ask.
That's
You know,
right.
You just know what's coming.
And the direction that we receive from the council with regard to our goals, and that should be reflected in both what the department heads are asking for, as well as what the city council is willing to fund, so.
Okay. And you,
Down on the bottom, we'll do more of a summary so that it separates out, the restricted funding areas first, and then the assignable projects later with the columns. Whether or not we do that down at the bottom or we do something, we'll figure out how we can do that and present it.
That way that association
So
is
it may
clear.
be on are you okay if it moves on to a separate summary sheet?
I think that would be
So
better,
the summary
actually.
might be a summary of the projects, and then the other one's more of an analysis by year. And would you be okay?
oh, yeah.
for that?
Any way to make the information more usable.
So
that
that
you
then we
think
have a
would be
little
great.
bit, sometimes trying to put everything onto one sheet stops being useful.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
So we'll work on some more formatting.
I love that
Work.
one he brought up, that he put on there, and it showed the year and important, and the year out, it was like, oh, that was sweet.
Yeah, he just moved it out to the
Yeah,
right.
that's awesome.
Yeah, by category, by importance. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, we can create some of these tools, and so there might be more of like a tools table or something like that. Jeff will create some magic stuff. So,
Good deal.
I say we, it means Jeff.
Means
Yes, Jeff.
Okay, was there
Uses
any,
it the same way too.
was there anything else that we missed?
Wes or Blair?
Mayor, can I make a comment?
No, I think we're good. We'd like to, we've been talking behind the scenes of them breakdowns. That'll really help again.
Okay, yeah,
Just really quick, this represents an effort that has taken the entire staff, really. And it is a reflection of the work of a few individuals, though, that I wanted to call out specifically. Curtis obviously came up with this idea and the spreadsheet itself. And he worked with Lindsay and Jeff and really all of the department heads, but Lindsay and Jeff, who don't like to be called out for their efforts, but I wanted to make sure that they got acknowledged for all of the time and energy that they put into this. It's a fantastic move, and I think it's one in the right direction towards making sure that the bridges are made between the staff and the council, and hopefully also involving the public and making things easier for the public to digest and understand as well. So
absolutely.
I just wanted to commend those folks and call them out specifically and recognize their hard work on this.
All of the department heads for providing the input.
Yeah, 2 months ago, when we asked for the asset schedules, this is exactly what was on mine. So you nailed it. Good job.
Very good.
Very much a collaborative effort. Yeah, I can't re-emphasize enough Lindsay and Jeff's help. And then the willingness of the department heads to take the time, read the instructions, put together sheets, and then send them back in. Incredibly valuable. Now, I do want to be very clear on record. This is not final. I heard through the grapevine that this may have been published out and said, hey, this is fine. No, this was the start of a discussion. This discussion will keep going.
Well,
So-
you know, the police chief gave me some real good advice before. Get out ahead of it. So can we somehow put this on us on the website or something so people can look at it with a big header on it? We're just baking this, or this is, because there's no reason people can't see it, Huh? I understand that, but I'm just saying, that way everyone can see it and
Well, and see what our
read only,
priorities
so,
are.
And they can see the processes we're working through it and give input along the way, so.
I think the more transparent we can be, the better. With the caveat just of making sure that we explain what it is and what it is not, right?
I like that is not part, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I say let's just get out in front of it and let people know this is what we're doing.
Yeah. Good. Good. All right. Any other discussion with regard to the capital part of our capital projects, part of our budget?
Early, do we need to start on the first if we're talking to department heads and?
Well, I think we better start at 5 o'clock, don't you think?
2 hours?
What?
It'd have to-
Earlier than that?
I can't get here much before that. Whatever.
But,
Why don't we try 5 o'clock, and if we have to go into the regular policy session a little bit, maybe if we can go a little light on some of the policy items to give ourselves enough time to get through the budget, because we only have the first, and then we don't meet the middle of April, and we have to have it ready to go by,
well, we'll meet on the 29th of April. So
it has to be,
another meeting there.
it has to be ready to go with the preliminary.
Yeah, the first meeting.
So we need,
Yes. Oh,
we need to
excuse
have our
me.
budget meeting as well, right, on the 1st? We're not gonna have time for both. There's no way.
Excuse me. So we got, let's just work it through so we're all on the same page. We've got the middle, the first, then we're gone the middle of April, and then we've got the latter part of
April 29th.
April 29th, and it has to be submitted
The 1st of May.
the 1st of May. So is that the, not the final,
No, that's just the tentative.
that just, okay. And then we've got
May 6th would be the tentative, but
tentative is the what?
May 6th.
May 6th, and then
We would meet the week before that, the 29th, and then also the 1st.
And then we have to submit the tentative budget, and then the final budget is,
Not until June 17th.
so that gives us our time frame. We need,
I think, I don't know that this is as high a priority as the budget. The capital, well, they kind of are, but we should discuss the budget first. And if we have time.
The 26 items, the 26 funding is a critical part of
Yeah.
the budget, because that's gonna flow into your budget.
Yep.
The budget you're setting is for fiscal year 26.
Because the house payment's part of the,
so,
yeah.
council, I guess the question is on the first, we usually have the kids, are we going to want to sort of just do budget on the first? With no, am I hearing no policy, just budget, work through the budget? A giant work session. Does that sound fair with, I don't know what, maybe we can, we're getting close to the end of school, well, school's not going to be out for a little bit, but
I think we still need to take care of the kids.
Yeah, and I think
with the kids.
I'd like to put a place marker in just in case there is something that comes up. I don't think we have anything necessarily.
Annexation, we're gonna be.
Oh,
we're gonna be-
so, okay, maybe that idea is not going to work then.
29th, could we do just budget on the 29th, when I'll be here? Alright.
Then we can,
So the first, I mean, we could still talk. Or, yeah, you could have department heads come the first, and then the 29th, just talk to
29th of,
April.
April.
It's
And
a
that gives you time prior to the 6th.
it's a fifth Tuesday.
That would give you time prior to the 6th to finalize whatever needs to be done.
Historically, we haven't taken care of it in one night. Had a debate for several times. and
Yeah.
I'm a little concerned about that.
Well, I mean, we just need to plow into it as much as we can. And meeting on the 29th might be and then we would meet again the first Tuesday in May,
So it'd be the 6th.
the 6th of May.
that would just be the tentative, you can still discuss and make changes. That
So
was-
the 29th, because the 29th, we could just do budget, the 29th, period.
I thought, and then we don't have to cancel the kids on the first.
Yeah.
Still, we have the department heads come in on the first and work session. and-
Yeah, we can still get a lot done on the first.
Yeah,
We could even split it up, so not every department had,
yeah.
so you could just have a few
Well, but then
departments.
you're not gonna have another meeting till.
I will also be gone on the first.
On the 1st?
Yeah, so I can prepare like a memo. or something
Paul will be
like
here on
that.
the first.
Oh, yeah, we're on the first.
Trying.
Paul might be saying this is his last meeting.
All right.
I'll be gone on the first, but I'll join from Zoom like Blair and.
Yeah, I'm gonna be in Kirkland on the first.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's a good place
So,
to be on the first.
when do we have to go down to the mid-year clinic? Can we hold a
That's-
meeting on the 15th?
But Bill and I won't be here, so if you guys wanna run it. Our city managers conference is that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then league Thursday, Friday. So we'll be down there all week.
I mean, we got the budget and the capital budget. And if you are thinking about truth and taxation in the middle of all that stuff, we need to have another meeting.
The 20th, the 5th?
If
The
you
fifth
can't do it the
Tuesday is not?
15th, you need to have one the 22nd and the 29th.
Well, that's what we're talking about, is the 29th, having one on the
I'm talking
22nd.
the 20, okay,
The
22nd?
Is that,
That's the week before the 29th.
let's see, we got first,
You got the
third.
first, you don't have a meeting that, and then the 29th.
So what you're saying is meeting the 22nd and 29th, both weeks?
Have to cancel planning commission. That's
Okay.
when they meet, but.
I think that
You have a lot planned for that night?
We can preempt.
Not if you're canceling it.
I'm trying to be nice. You can go have it in another room.
We'd get more done.
Wednesday night. We could do that. You wanna meet the 22nd and the 29th?
Well, that's what we're kind of talking about.
I could back that up. I think I'd rather have more time to do it in a controlled environment and get everything out than to feel rushed.
Me too.
That is 3 weeks in a row. You've got the 22nd, 29th, and then May 6th. That's 3 Thursdays or Tuesdays in a row.
Well, you guys are dedicated.
If one or two of those is
Dedication.
just budget, then I don't have to create a packet as much easier.
I do it every week, so.
So do I.
I would rather know that we've done it right and put in the extra time than to.
Let's do it.
What's happening the first then?
Regular meeting
A regular
with an
meeting?
extended
but-
department head discussion.
But department heads, we're going to report back on the us
First.
on the first,
Yep.
right?
So I'll be
2
calling
weeks.
in. Brett, you'll be calling in.
Okay.
Blair and Wes, will you be here on the first?
Yep, we'll both be here.
So you'll have a quorum.
Well, we'll have a.
Did you hear us?
Yes.
Yes, thanks.
All right. Well, good.
So on the 22nd, we're talking budget,
Budget only,
and on the 29th,
budget only.
Friday, I put a packet together, so just be a quick, easy one. And just talk budget on the 22nd.
Then April 1st is capital project
Yeah.
clarifications. Okay.
All right, thank you, everybody. Let's take a little break, and then we'll start up our regular session at 7 o'clock sharp. We'd like to welcome everybody out to our city council meeting this evening. This is our policy session. We just completed a work session where we discussed the capital projects that we'll spend quite a bit of time over the next several weeks discussing the budget, and this was just sort of one of the first steps to all of that. So we want to thank the directors and Curtis and Bill and everybody who was involved in that, helping us to discuss the budget. We have an opening ceremony. I've asked Councilmember Rhodey if he would offer the opening prayer. And then, since Councilmember Blair Westergaard is not here, he was going to do the pledge. Well, I asked Bo if he'd do it. So Bo Lewis will lead us in the pledge.
Our Heavenly Father, we're thankful for this opportunity to meet together as a city. We're thankful for the opportunity to serve others and ask that we can do things in a dignified, civil manner. Help us that we can understand the needs of all the citizens and that we can know where best to allocate our time, efforts, and expenses. Help us that we can move forward with uniting the city, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please repeat the Pledge of Allegiance after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have several people here with us. Some of you are kind of new, so I'm just going to take an opportunity right now just to introduce everybody so you know who's up here. We have our city manager over here to my left, Bill Kobabe, and then Bo Lewis, Councilmember Bo Lewis, and Blair Westergaard, who is tuning in via Zoom. He's out of town today, but he's tuning in. Lyle Vance, and then myself, Brett Rhodey, Councilmember Brett, and Wes Eastep, who is also out of town today, but tuning in via Zoom. Then we have Cynthia Nelson, our recorder, and Lindsay Nessen, our assistant city manager. We've asked our city attorney, Dustin Erickson, is here with us this evening, and Curtis Roberts, our CPA, our accountant. And we appreciate them for helping us out. We also have Carl Mackley, who is just going to be new, helping us out, so, with the Public Works. Council, are there any conflicts of interest with the agenda tonight?
No.
Hearing none. Hearing none, we'll move on. We'll move on to our approval of the agenda. Council,
I make a motion that we approve the agenda as written.
I second.
motion by Lyle Vance and seconded by Bo Lewis. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Approval of the minutes for March 4th, 2025. Council, do you have any questions or comments about the minutes?
I'll make a motion. We approve the minutes of March 4th.
Motion by
I
Blair,
second it.
seconded by Blair. Is that you, Blair?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. We have some years of service awards that we're going to offer tonight, or to give out tonight. Our first one is Jill Bywater with the library. And Kim, do you want to come up and give this out? Let's see.
Want me just to?
There you go. Thank you.
Do you want me to read this? Okay. All right, so, let's see. Jill Bywater. She says she grew up in Tremonton, but couldn't wait to get away at 18. But now, after 40 years, she's back and she loves it.
When your red light's on, it's on. Now it's on. On the microphone.
I heard it.
Oh, right there.
Okay. All right, so she was asked to pick 3 questions to answer, and she chose number 3. What is your favorite part about working for Tremonton City? And she said that she loves helping people. And the question number 1, what has been your favorite work project while at Tremonton City? And she says teaching an art masterpiece during the summer to the kids. She did a wonderful job with that, by the way. So she's been really great in helping with all of our kids' programs. She's one of our children's librarians. The last question she chose was 15. What places have you lived? And she's been everywhere. So Arlington, Virginia, Alexandria, Virginia, Washington, D.C., Phoenix, Chicago, San Francisco, Palo Alto. I'm not even sure how to, Milpitas, Tempe, Arizona, and Gilbert, Arizona. She says, and that's not even all of the places she's lived. So.
Wow.
Anyway, she's been a great asset to the library, and we really are proud of her.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jill.
Thank you.
Okay, Katie. You here, Katie?
She is here.
There she is.
All right, so this is Katie Stocks, formerly known as Katie Gordon. She is receiving her 5-year award tonight. So Katie's title right now, she's one of our firefighter paramedics. So she received her paramedic, or she earned her paramedic last year. That's a kind of a pain in the butt for anyone that knows anything about that. It's a long process, so she was able to achieve that. So Katie's a firefighter medic with Tremont. She started 5 years ago. She works part-time also as a nurse in that ICU down in Park City. She's married, has 2 dogs that are basically her children. Husband and her love to travel. They do travel quite a bit. Her family is super important to her, and she loves spending time with them. She also loves her job as a firefighter and her firefighter family as well. It's me. I'm her captain, and then Carl in the back is her other full-time firefighter. She loves her family. I'll speak for her. So, loves her job as a firefighter. She's grateful for the fire family and the opportunity that she gets to serve the citizens here. The 3 questions that she chose. So question 6, which is what are you passionate about? She's passionate about traveling and spending time with family, and then her 2 fur babies. Question 12, which is what is on your bucket list, and it is traveling around the world, which she is quickly marking things off of that. And then question 13, what's the first thing you would buy if you won the lottery? And it is a 3rd dog or fur baby. So congratulations, Katie, on 5 years.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. Over the last several weeks, this has been a difficult time for our community. And I don't need to go into a lot on that, except for it's been stressful. There's been families who are concerned and who are some that have been victimized. But as I've sort of done a little research on this sexual abuse of children, I've learned that it's far more common in our society than maybe I even understood. And so with that, with the help of Dustin, I appreciate his, I've never written a proclamation before, so, but I've really felt strongly about this. And I think that as a community, we can, we're, a lot of us, there's some hurt. And now it's time for us to work toward some healing in our community. And so with that, I'd like to read this proclamation. And what I'd like to do is declare April as Sex Abuse Against Children Awareness Month. Whereas the Tremont City Mayor and City Council, in partnership with the Tremont and Garland Police Department, recognize the devastating effects of sexual abuse of children, or any pattern of abuse or behavior used to gain or maintain power, or to cause harm or control over others. And whereas domestic violence has a profound impact on many families in our community, resulting in harmful consequences for survivors, their families, and the entire community. And whereas crimes such as domestic violence and child sexual abuse hinder our community from achieving its fullest potential. And although the city maintains a zero tolerance for any form of abuse, much work still needs to be done. Whereas we have a sacred duty to ensure that no one experiences abuse, whereas we have a sacred duty to ensure that no one experiences abuse, Tremont City is taking essential steps to prevent the devastating effects of sexual violence against children and protect these victims and their families. Everyone deserves to live free from fear of violence, particularly within their own homes and communities. Whereas the Tremont City Police Department, Tremont and Garland Police Department, has redoubled its efforts to address concerning statistics regarding sexual violence against children. The city aims to ensure that victims of this violence do not endure further harassment or abuse. Whereas Tremont City reaffirms its commitment to creating a community where no one endures the pain and hardship of abuse, and recognizes the advocates, victim service providers, and organizations that work tirelessly to prevent domestic violence while extending hope and healing to survivors and victims of domestic violence. Therefore, I, Lyle Holmgren, Mayor of Tremont, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim April 2025 in Tremonton as Sexual Abuse Against Children Awareness Month in Tremonton, and urge that we can reaffirm our commitment to upholding the fundamental human right to be free from violence and abuse, dated this 18th day of March 2025. I know we can't solve the problem 100%, but we can raise the awareness, and we can do everything within our power as a city and as a community to raise the awareness of this horrific crime and where it impacts so many innocent people. Anyway, that's my proclamation. So, council, what do you think? I think we just approve it and allow me to sign it.
So you need a motion?
Yeah, just a motion, I think.
To make a motion that we accept and approve the Sexual Abuse Against Children Awareness Month, the month of April.
I second.
Motion by Lyle Vance and seconded by Bo. All in favor?
Yes.
It's a resolution.
Do we have to do?
Proclamation.
Where's the proclamation? It's just a proclamation. Okay, thank you. Motion, I think it was just,
I just saw that, and that's why I went.
oh, okay. I think, so it's, the voting is unanimous. Thank you, everybody. All right, presentation. from Judge Brian Brower.
And can I tee this off, Mayor, a little bit for us?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So Judge Brower has graciously agreed to come up and kind of tonight show his face to the council. More importantly, he's graciously agreed to serve as the interim judge for Tremonton. This was something that we reached out to him and asked if he'd be willing to do. It's at a great deal of sacrifice for his personal and professional life. While I know that his credentials speak for themselves, just on a personal level, I've had the privilege of practicing in front of him for the last about 6 years. And he, in my opinion, is exactly what our community needs right now to step in and help us bridge this gap until a permanent judge is appointed for the city of Tremonton. So with that, this is Judge Brian Brower. He serves as the Justice Court Judge in Clearfield City, Morgan County, and Sunset City, and has done so for a number of years. Prior to that, he's been a municipal attorney and also a district attorney, deputy district attorney, or county attorney. So he knows the ins and outs of government entities, of municipal entities, and most importantly of justice courts. He serves on several of the committees that oversee and govern the justice courts in the state of Utah. In short, in my opinion, we're very lucky to have him graciously agree to step in and help us out. And that's really what it is. He's helping us out for the next several months. So with that, I'll let him introduce himself a little bit.
Mayor, Council, would you like me at the podium?
Yes, please. So that, only because it makes it a little easier for the transcriber to.
You got, I understand.
Yeah.
Well, maybe just by way of introduction, it's good to be here, and I recognize that Mr. Erickson indicated he's a prosecutor in one of the jurisdictions where I sit for a number of years, and so I'm familiar with him, and he reached out to me, recognizing the unfortunate need at this time. I'm happy if it's the will of the Mayor and Council of Tremont City to step in and fulfill that role during this intermediate interim time period, I should say. I did, as Dustin indicated, start my legal career back in 1999 as a deputy county attorney at the Weber County Attorney's Office. Learned a lot of great things from some wonderful prosecutors there, Bill Daines and Gary Hewer, and some of the great prosecutors that were there at the time. And spent a time there prosecuting in the juvenile court, which I still consider one of the highlights of my career, doing that and prosecuting cases there. I moved then to municipal government from there. I worked as a deputy city attorney and a prosecutor for a period of time in Murray City, as well as then Layton City, and then ultimately took the city attorney position in Clearfield. I served there for 8 years until the judge in Clearfield, Judge Sandberg, retired and was able to move into that position. Shortly thereafter, I was able to pick up a couple of additional courts in Sunset and in Morgan County. I think my experience in Morgan County probably is a little bit more akin to what you probably experience here in Tremont, and I did a little bit of checking, and the city of Tremont has about the same population as Morgan County does. I think Morgan County is probably a little more spread out even than Tremont is. That's the whole county's population, about what you have here in the city of Tremont. I certainly understand the concerns that your community has at this very unfortunate time. If you have any questions, I guess maybe one thing, I'm sure that Mr. Erickson could give you a better kind of perspective on how I preside in a court and my approach, but I'm very consistent. I treat people the same. And I certainly believe that from the bench there is an opportunity for extending an appropriate amount of mercy in the right occasions, but I also feel it's very important, I think, to hold people accountable for particularly once someone has come into court and charges have been adjudicated. Of course, everyone enjoys the presumption of innocence under the United States Constitution. Many other important rights, but once the charges have been adjudicated and a person has been sentenced, and then really what we look to do is to try to do all we can to rehabilitate and prevent future illegal conduct for the benefit of that individual as well as, more importantly, the community. And so I feel very strongly about once that's happened, if people aren't doing their treatment, if they aren't doing the things that the court's ordered them to do, if they have probation violations, I'm probably one of the more strict and rigid judges when it comes to holding people accountable for those kinds of things. So for better or worse, how I feel about that, that's kind of, I think, my approach in a nutshell. I've probably done too much talking already. Happy to field any questions.
We appreciate your comments. If you've got other information you want to share, that would be, I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, I can't think of anything else, but I'm happy to certainly understand and can appreciate you've got a stranger coming in that would be taking on what I consider to be an important role in your community, and so I'm happy to field any questions. I guess one thing I neglected to mention, maybe a little bit about me personally. My wife and I have been married for 35 years in June. Had to
Don't
think
let
about
her
that.
see this.
Do the math, yeah. We have 4 children. They're all married. We will have 8 grandchildren here in the next few weeks. 7 right now, but our daughter is expecting her second, so it'll bump up to number 8 here just any time now, really. I'm not sure what else to tell you about me, so I'm happy to field any questions.
We're thrilled. We're maybe more of a comment than a question. We are grateful that you're willing to do this for us. This is, it's very unfortunate what has occurred, and to have somebody, and Mr. Erickson has been very supportive of, and high regards toward you, and we just appreciate your willingness to help us out until we're able to get somebody full-time that will help us. But counsel, do you have any comments or
I
questions?
just thank you for being gracious enough to give up your time to do this. We need it, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, happy to do it. I'm happy to step in and help. Obviously, we all regret the circumstances here, but I'm glad to be of assistance, and we can help your community bridge that gap.
Just a quick question. We're sincerely grateful for you coming up and bridging us. So what's the process to further, what happens now to replace permanently? What happens?
There will be what's called a judicial nominating commission that'll be, they're not already formed in our county because we obviously haven't had a need for several years. Fortunately, we knew that an upcoming need was in the near future. Judge Christensen had planned to retire this year at some point in time, and so I think that there was already movement with the nominating commission. What will happen is that nominating commission will field the applicants and interview those applicants that they would like to, and then they will forward 3 to 5 names onto all 4 of the governmental entities that need to hire a judge. That'd be Box Elder County, Willard City, Tremonton City, and Garland City. And then the cities will be able to appoint any of those candidates that have been forwarded to them, those 3 to 5 candidates. We'll get into this process later, but I'm of the opinion that if we look to unify with the county and Willard and Garland, it will help us draw the best possible candidates, because it becomes a more full-time job in that sense, and so we'll get a good group of candidates. The county's position and Willard City's has already been posted by the judicial nominating, or by the administrative office of the courts. And I think Tremonton's, with some of our discussions this evening, will probably be posted tomorrow or Thursday. So. And sorry, Councilman Vance, just also, I would throw in there, it's probably a 4 to 6 month process. I think.
wondered how long.
Yeah, it's going to take us a few months to, and by us, I don't mean, the Judicial Nominating Commission will take a couple of months to review applications and come together and interview the applicants, and then they'll forward names, and that'll take another couple weeks to a month. So it's
Who
it's a bit
forms
of a
that
process.
commission? Who is on the judicial commission?
Yeah, there will be members of our local government, most likely. There will be representation from the Bar Association in what's called the First District. So the First District is Box Elder, Cache, and Rich counties. So attorneys or representation from the Bar Association from those counties from this first district will be involved. And then a gentleman named Jim Peters, who's from the Administrative Office of the Courts, he'll oversee that committee and help guide them. So,
And the timeframe is acceptable to you?
Yeah, I realize it's a lengthy process. For example, I suspect those applications, they probably have those postings out for, I would guess, around a month. So you probably eat up a month right up front just to get applications in. And then, the nominating commission has to go through, reviewing all those, interviewing people and forwarding those names. And fortunately, I'm really, really busy with court calendars on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. I run all day on those days. In fact, I do an evening court in Morgan County on Tuesday evenings. It just so happens that we had a trial scheduled that ended up settling, and so we wrapped up early this evening. But I don't, while there is other business, for me to do, obviously paperwork and things, I don't actually have court calendars in my other courts on Mondays, which is why I think Mr. Erickson thought that, he reached out to me and thought it might be a good fit where traditionally Tremont has held their court calendars on Mondays, and I'm available
When
that
is
day.
the Garland Court?
I think it's on Thursday mornings, I think. Thursdays. So.
And Garland would go through this process on their own, or are you thinking you're going to?
I have not been contacted by Garland, so as far as I know, and again, this is all subject to whether or not you want to go this direction, but if the mayor and council approve that, then as far as I know, I'd just be handling the Tremont cases.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Well, I'd like to make a wholehearted
Let's see, this is just a presentation at this point. I get. Okay,
Councilman Rhodey, I will say that I share your excitement about it, though. This is a good thing. So.
Yeah, this is a good thing. All right. Thank you, Judge. Appreciate your time very much. All right, we'll move on. Our next section is public comments. This is an opportunity for you to address the City Council regarding your concerns or ideas. We're asking you to keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. The time is now yours.
Nobody else is going to jump, I would.
There you go.
For those that maybe don't know me, I'm Bill Roseman. It's been a long time. Been a few months since I've been here. And I'm probably preaching to the choir, reading the news about what happened here in Tremont, and it's not the way we want to be put on the map, right? I think, it's my own thought, that the root cause of these problems is pornography. And I know we have a Constitution, we have First Amendment rights to free speech and freedom of expression and all that. And I know that this country isn't gonna all out ban pornography. It'd be nice if that happened, but I realize that's not gonna happen. What I would really like to see happen is that it banned from the internet completely. I think that if you want to view pornography, you should have to go to a box store and buy it in a magazine or video or whatever. The internet takes things to, well, we see what's going on in the world. It's not cool. It's beyond my power, but that's my suggestion. Maybe Mayor, you're the mayor of our town. I'm sure you probably talked to our governor and other politicians. Maybe you could bring that up as a suggestion. But I would love to see the day when you couldn't go on the internet and find pornography in any form. Pornography is a lie. It's intoxicating. It's like drinking alcohol. And quite frankly, I don't know anybody that hasn't viewed porn a time or two in their life. I really don't. I was in the military. I've been at work. It's everywhere. But it's intoxicating and it's a lie. And I kind of think that if it wasn't so easy and readily accessible, I don't think we'd have as many issues with it. If it's not on the internet, if we could eliminate it from the internet, then maybe we're helping some people that maybe wouldn't view pornography if they had to go to a box store and actually buy it. You know what I mean? Might actually help a few people. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Bill.
Hello there. My name is Landon Hemsley. Hey, Lyle. Hey, Bo. Mayor. Hey, President Rhodey. How you doing?
Landon.
Hemsley. Landon Hemsley. I'm actually Lyle's neighbor. I'm glad to be here. I wanted to speak for just a moment about the sports complex project the city is investigating, and I want to compliment Jeff. I know he's worked really, really hard on that, and I know that there are a lot of people here who care about that. However, in circumstances like this, I think it's important to remember a few things about how projects like this come into being and about how they are sustained after they come into being. I think, Bo, you know for sure that I love soccer. I mean, you see me play. I played with you, right? And I know you and your brother love hockey, and I know Jeff knows that I love soccer, and so I would be a huge beneficiary from a project like this. Even so, there's part of this that is moral to me, and there's part of all of city government that is moral to me, in that how the city government funds projects like this and then how these projects are sustained. There are a lot of people in this town who obviously are not here. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I think we should put it up for, full representative democracy, because I don't think that would be very efficient. But I think it's important to remember that when public money is involved, you're talking about money that is forcibly taken from other people. They don't get a choice. Especially where property taxes are concerned, that's the classic example of a wealth tax. We are taxed every year on the assets that we worked really hard to own. And the philosophical underpinnings of this country are such that every man should be entitled to the fruits of his labor. We own our labor, we trade that in the market in exchange for resources, and then government entities come and take their cut. And if we don't do that, we suffer consequences, not because we've done anything morally wrong, but because that's just the way the system works. And that's at every level of government, city, county, state, and the federal government. They all come in and they all take our cut. So I think it's important to remember that, especially in a circumstance where a facility like this is going to be funded with public money, not everybody who is going to pay for this facility is even going to be able to use it. And furthermore, if the facility can't sustain itself and represents a consistent drain on public resources, that's an ongoing problem. And even so, even if people can't use it, even if they don't have access to it, they may not even want it. There may be circumstances under which they would want to, but because of the way it is managed, they may not be able to afford it. I understand, and I don't know the details, and I apologize for that, but I understand a huge portion of the funding for this is going to be in sales taxes, and that's wonderful. If we get people from other jurisdictions coming into our city to spend money here and to help develop things locally, I think that's not a terrible thing. However, sales taxes are very regressive, because they are most impactful to the people who have the fewest amount of resources. People who are making $30,000 a year feel sales taxes way more than people who are making $200,000 a year. And this is in an environment and an economy where inflation really is hurting people right now. So I'm not here to say that this project should not happen. I don't know enough about it to be able to say it should or it should not. But I think that it's only reasonable, and I'm asking the city council that if you are going to continue with this project, it needs to be net gain for the city. It needs to be self-sustaining. The city, the public should not be expected to subsidize on an ongoing basis a facility like this. It needs to be able to run on its own 2 feet. And if that means that some entrepreneur has to come in and invest and build it himself, great, because then we get the benefit of the facility and he can take profits. And I don't see anything negative about that. You're a banker, Lyle. I know you see things this way.
Agreeing with what you're saying.
Yeah. So I think the only other thing that I would say, and I don't mean to be a wet blanket on the library, changing the subject, the library recently split their computer systems and there's no truck and their catalogs are divided. On behalf of my wife, I would like to say that this has decreased the value of the library to her and to my children. They don't like this change and it has not been good for them. So that's my time. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Landon.
Can you enlighten me on what that change is?
I would love to, but I don't know what it is. So I'm
Okay.
gonna have to find out and let you know.
We able to ask a clarifier?
Yeah.
Just
Landon, can you clarify what the change that you're referring to?
library.
Yeah. Yeah, so that we have a transcriber and so they can understand what you're saying.
So I appreciate the few extra moments. My wife and my kids, we primarily homeschool. We're in a dual enrollment where my kids attend school at the Athenian Academy in Brigham City once a week. And so for the remaining 4 days of the week, we are homeschooling. My wife obviously takes advantage of the library quite a bit. We're probably one of the Tremont and Garland Library's most frequent patrons. Recently, they split the 2 catalogs. It used to be you could return books at either library. Now, if you checked a book out from Tremont Library, you have to return it to Tremont Library.
Okay.
And if you check a book out from Garland, you have to return it. You can't just return it at either.
Okay.
And also, this has presented some challenges because the computer system's involved, and I don't know the details. I wish my wife was here. I don't want to speak too much on her behalf because I wasn't there. But she is unable to see and access through the library systems all of the books that all of our children have checked out on their library cards. She can no longer see a summary. She has to go to the library and have them give her a printout, whereas before she could just see it all in one go and we were able to keep track of all of those books.
Okay.
And so cutting off the truck that shifts books back and forth has very much decreased.
Impacted you guys.
It's impacted us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Landon.
Yeah.
I appreciate the clarification.
Yeah, taking notes.
Okay, public comment period is over. New council business, discussion and possible action on adopting resolution, resolution number 25-07, approving amendments to the city personnel policies and procedures manual, section 19, general safety, adding parking and backing procedures for city vehicles. Bill, do you want to do this, or is this something that?
It's Lindsay.
Lindsay is going to take care of this one, okay, Lindsay?
We're insured through the Utah Local Governments Trust, Lindsay. Oh, you really want me up here? Talk loud. So our, insurance is through Utah Local Governments Trust. Each year they give us premiums, subsidies, rebates, whatever, for doing certain things to promote safety. So this was the one thing that we didn't have in our policies yet, in order to get those rebates and stuff. So it's just a simple addition to our policies and procedures manual that just talks about parking and backing in hopes of stopping those kinds of accidents. I think they are like the #1 accident is backing accidents. So this was just their recommendation to help with that, and then continue to get our rebates we get every year from our insurance company. So.
All right, thank you. Council?
Make a motion that we adopt resolution number 25-07, approving the amendments to Tremont City Personnel Policies and Procedures Manual, General Safety.
I'll second it.
There you go.
Motion by Lyle Vance, Councilmember Vance, and seconded by Blair.
Wes.
Oh, Wes, I'm sorry, Wes. Seconded by Wes. Let's see, Wes, why don't we start with you?
Wes, aye.
Brett, yes.
Lyle Vance, yes.
Bo Lewis, yes.
And Blair?
Yes. Blair, yes.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Item number B, Discussion and possible action on adopting resolution number 25-08, approving the 2023 Tremonton analysis and recommendations for street network prepared by Utah Local Technical Assistance Program Center, that's LTAP. Let's see, Paul?
Yeah, this is just a presentation of our study that was done 2023. I think Carl's got in budget to do another study this year. We tried to do it around every 3 years. It was postponed a year in 2023 because we had so much of the city streets tore up with the secondary project that we was doing. And then that was a bad winter too. If you read down through the report, we was required to do this under the Gatsby 34 rules with the accounting. It was called the modified approach. In 2022, the state auditors done away with that approach that would apply to Tremont City. The only way you can go with that approach is if you do a survey every year of your streets. And Curtis didn't feel that it was worth the expense because we now just depreciate them out without setting aside money. We still do the study. We do everything but the final document that would go to the state of Utah to keep track of them. So he feels that this is a great way to do it. We get a third party to look at our streets, determine. And so if you go through that, you can see I've got it back to when we first started doing it back in 2003. And between 2003 and 2023, we grew about 20 miles worth of streets. We went from 29 miles of streets to 49 miles of street. And sounds like a lot, it is a lot. You can kind of see through the categories of where our street rated at that time. Since the study was done, we spent, probably around, it's in there, about $3.5 million worth of money on our streets. We redid 1000 West from Main Street to the railroad tracks up towards Post. We did 18 miles of chip seal project after we done all of our major water upgrades with the secondary water. The only roads we didn't chip seal were the roads that was going to be cut in the near future to replace aging water mains. So, any questions? Kind of gives you the rating. Majority of our streets are greater than 5. We set our limits to have at least 30% of our streets not to be below a level 4 rating, and that leaves 70% above. And of our streets, of our 49 miles, I think 32 miles of our streets are 5 or above, and the remaining are in that lower case. And those are the ones, when you start prioritizing what projects you do, you pick those lower ones in those and see how they're going to impact the community the most. And then you pick those out to do those projects first.
How does that 6th North, 3rd East, and 6th North, there's a section through there that's pretty rough. Is that?
And it would be in there. I didn't pull that out, but if you went through the study, it would show you.
Maybe I didn't see it.
The remaining surface life. And if you look at that little map, it's kind of a long, that's right out of the study, and they color code them for, red is critical, yellow is intermediate, and then green are low.
Okay. We can look that over. Thank you.
So you can see also, you can see 1000 North in there, but you can also see up there we redid, as of last year, 10th North from 2300 West to 3000 West with a widening project, as you know, and then some surface project a little bit further west. So if you approve the budget this year with that in there, he'll spend that money to do another road review, and also our curb and gutter and sidewalks are included in that. So.
Paul, how much does a road review cost us?
It's roughly around $8,000 by the time we do the road and then throw the sidewalk. And then what they do is they use intern engineering students. That's why it's done out of LTAP centers over in Logan. And they'll use those intern students to go out and do those studies. And they come around different times of the day. They even come out on weekends as they fit it in their schedule. And if you look through there, there's pictures. They'll take pictures, give you examples of the roads in the city and stuff.
So they just do a visual.
They do a visual. They don't
Don't
core
drill.
drill or anything like that. They're doing a visual looking at the RSL means remaining surface life. Thinking that most surface lives have a 20-year life, and that's why you chip seal. You try to chip seal every 10 to 15 years to add a little bit more life structure to that road. Chip seal will seal some of the cracks with the oils and the chips you put on it. And then we put an extra fog coat on top just to keep those chips in place. That's the goal of it. And then those, as the road heats up, works their way down into the pavement.
Well, that chip seal will seal off where you put in the secondary water and you leave the
Yeah,
seam there. That'll seal that seam off.
that covers that seam and makes it more seamless. So, and that's why, when we did our secondary project, we hugged the curb as close as we can, because that takes that cut. Because once you cut a road, until you repave the whole road, it's never 100%. You always can feel a little bump. Keeping it next to the curb, that keeps you out of the travel lane, so it's not as noticeable when you're traveling down there on cars, bikes, and motorbikes.
You kind of indicated that, you kind of indicated along Tremont Street that maybe we would have the contractor come back and roll out some of those.
Yeah, there were some, because secondary lines are shallower, you'll see some bumps when they did their bore underneath the road and when it's hot, they can come back and roll that back down. So, yeah. Questions?
Questions for Paul? So Paul, this is not going to be your last council meeting, correct?
This is my last.
This is your last?
Yeah.
Okay, I think we all,
According to my plans.
we appreciate the many, many years of service and the great job you've done with our
It's
city.
been a good ride. We've done a lot with the city council and all the projects. We've done a lot of projects in the 28 years I've been involved with the city. Good projects, from treatment plant upgrades to water storage tanks to source development, secondary source development. There's been a lot of good public works projects. And that's not counting, I have a problem, I put recreation a little lower. We did a lot of recreation programs, from Jenny Stevens Park to the trailhead to the trails. There's been a lot of projects too.
We sure appreciate everything you've done and done a great job directing our Public Works Department. And
Thanks.
we appreciate you so much.
No question, there's a resolution there.
Okay, we better go back to work, huh? All right, council, we have, let me get myself back together here. We have a resolution on the table, resolution number 25-08. Council?
I'll move that we adopt Resolution 2508, approving the 2023 Tremont analysis and recommendations for street network prepared by the Utah Local Technical Assistance Program Center.
I'll second it.
Motion by Bo Lewis and seconded by Lyle Vance. Let's see, Brett, I think you're up.
Brett, yes.
Lyle Vance, yes.
Blair, yes.
Bo, yes.
Wes?
Wes, yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. All right. Moving on, discussion and possible action on adopting resolution number 25-09, appointing a Tremonton City representative to serve as a member of the Box Elder County Mosquito Abatement District Board from 2025 to 2028. This is a sort of a requirement for the mosquito abatement district that they have a representative from this part of the from this part of the city, and our recommendation is for us to nominate Carl Mackley to serve on that board, and he has expressed willingness to do this, so.
I make a motion that we adopt resolution number 25-9.
Motion by Lyle Vance, seconded by?
Blair.
Brett. Seconded by both Blair and Brett. Let's see, Lyle?
Lyle Vance, yes.
Blair, yes.
Bo, yes.
Brett, yes.
Motion passes. Welcome aboard, Carl. We appreciate you doing this. Yeah, we all are. Okay. Item number D, discussion and possible action on accepting the Riverfront Tremonton annexation petition for further consideration under Utah State annexation law. The annexation petition consists of 5.78 acres of real property located at approximately 100 east and 1200 south in Tremonton. Jeff, this is you.
Yeah, Mike was looking at having this piece annexed in to have the space to do some improvements along the east side of 100 East. With how narrow the other two parcels are there, he just needs a little bit more space for some of the improvements he's conceptualizing. But that little sliver out there somehow was outside of the city boundary, so annexation was the first step.
Okay. Council, do you have any questions about any of this?
Where is that?
Just south
You
of
know
the
where Mrs.
cemetery.
Hunsaker, or is it
South of the cemetery.
Hansel? Just south of the cemetery.
Yeah,
Um,
Malad River, south of the cemetery.
Oh, back in behind Palmer's old home. Now I'm, okay.
Sure.
I always thought that was.
Why do we gotta keep referencing things like we've all lived here 100 years? Street names and large things are hard, but the old Palmer house, everyone
Yeah,
lives in.
yeah. Well, even before that, it was somebody else's, so.
The old red barn.
Oh, okay, that house.
I was
Well, we know that.
Heaven
All
forbid
right.
we use street names.
Right there.
So you're waiting for a motion again?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, and this is just accepting the paperwork, and then we'll start the public notice period again. Cynthia will have 1 or 2 letters to fold on her desk. It is her favorite job. She expressed that to me after the Brody Calder annexation was adopted. So once if the petition's accepted, we'll move into public noticing, and then we'll probably have this on apparently in June. Feels like April and May got already scheduled out, so.
All right, council?
He thinks that's high enough. He's not gonna have a water problem, huh?
Well, he's not gonna develop all of it. He just needs, I mean, the 2 parcels there next to the road are pretty thin, so there's just a portion of this parcel that he'll be looking to add improvements to. But no, he will not be developing down to the river.
Council?
Is it a motion or do we just,
We're making a motion if the council chooses to do so.
has it got a number? I'm gonna make a motion that we move forward with it.
Okay, that might be what's confusing everybody is we don't have a number associated with this. We're just giving authorization to go forward with the paperwork.
I second it.
A motion by Blair and seconded by Lyle Vance. Let's see, Blair, you're up.
Blair, yes.
Okay.
Bo, yes.
Wes?
yes.
Brett, yes.
Lyle Vance, yes.
Motion passes. Thank you, everybody. Item number D, discussion and possible action on adopting ordinance number 25-04, authorizing the Tremonton City Council, when necessary, to appoint a temporary justice court judge. Here you go. This is your big,
Well, this isn't the next one. This is just allowing you guys to appoint interim judges.
okay, so, hold on a minute. Did I jump oh, okay. So, Dustin?
Just quickly, certainly events have necessitated us having this ordinance on the agenda tonight, but this is an ordinance that will outlive what we're going through right now. This will just, in the event that there was a health crisis or if somebody were to pass away who was our judge, it would give the city council the authority to appoint an interim judge. And per state code, we needed to have this prior to discussing the resolution regarding Judge Brower.
Okay. All right, thank you. That clarified that. Council?
I motion that we adopt, I motion that we adopt ordinance 2504, authorizing the Tremont City Council when necessary to appoint a temporary justice court judge.
Motion by Bo and seconded by Lyle?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Let's see, Bo, you're up.
Bo, yes.
Wes, yes.
Brett, yes.
Lyle Vance, yes.
Blair, yes.
Motion passes. Thank you, everybody. Okay, Brett, you've been waiting for this all day, so here we go. Discussion and possible action on adopting resolution number 25-10, appointing Judge Brian Brower as a temporary justice court judge for Tremont City Justice Court. Council, any comments, or Dustin, do you have anything to add to any of this?
No, just if there were any questions from the council, I'd be happy to answer those.
Okay, council, questions?
Thanks for the time you've put into it.
My pleasure. I appreciate that, though, Councilman Vance.
Make a motion, we adopt resolution number 2510.
I second it.
Motion by Brett and seconded by Blair?
Blair, yes.
Okay. Let's see, back to Wes.
Wes, yes.
Brett, yes.
Lyle Vance, yes.
Blair, yes.
Bo, yes.
Okay, motion passes. And welcome aboard, Judge Brian Brower. Thank you. All right, consent agenda, discussion and consent to begin the ordinance process to implement a good landlord program in Tremont City. Is this going to be Chief? Great.
Close enough.
That's good.
Cool.
You want to start?
Sure. The city's growing. That might not be as much news as as some other things, but as we continue to see some denser growth, one program that Dustin and Greg have brought to my attention is this Good Landlord program. There's a handful of municipalities through the more metro portions of the Wasatch Front that have implemented this to varying degrees. Clearfield City actually had some really good documentation about kind of some of the differences between those municipalities. And so what we're at right now is the genesis of creating a program that would help us oversee and regulate rental properties, both short and longer term establishments. Being blunt, in hindsight, this probably is something that should have been established in the city a few years ago, but we are where we are. I think there's a lot of benefits of that this program will be able to provide both Greg for code enforcement, but then also the PD for emergency responses. And I'll let Dustin field any questions.
Yeah, so my experience with this program, we actually used it in Mid-Val. A lot of different cities will implement the program. As far as from a law enforcement perspective, one huge thing is called broken windows theory. It basically means if we create an environment that attracts crime, we're going to see an influx of crime. And we actually have a micro analysis of that that's being passed out right now. You'll see a couple locations in our city. Do you have those on there still?
Oh.
Okay. Well, I can show you this. I don't know if it's on your paperwork, but essentially we have some problem areas in our city. By using this program, it can empower us to motivate the landlords and property managers to work with us to help them solve the problems. So this was actually pitched to, I want to say 2 city managers ago. It didn't get much traction. On the police side, we still implemented the program just without any city ordinances to back it. We have some really good partners in the form of like Matheson. We communicate with their city management and work together to solve problems in their community. We have others that we've reached out to, and that's in this memo. They're not responsive, and frankly, they're pretty neglectful. And what we've done is we've checked their crime rate compared to other more proactive managed communities. And even though they're a tenth the size, they have 3 times the crime rate. So the evidence is there that we have a problem, and I hope that this program can empower us to motivate them to solve those problems, to work with us so we can create a long-term solution to crime problems. That's something you've heard from me for the last couple of years. That's my goal as the chief, is to reduce our crime and take care of issues. Can't do it alone. We need cooperation from some of these locations, and this, I'm hoping, would empower us to do that. But basically what we're looking at tonight is we give Dustin the okay to look at it as far as reevaluate our city ordinance, look at other cities and get something on paper where it kind of gives us more skin in the game. And if they're not meeting the criteria we established, then the city would have the power to take some action to motivate them to do that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, since this is a consent agenda, we'll go on to item number B. This is a discussion of bids to remove the trees on Main Street. And so, council, I don't know, did that other individual come in and?
No. We didn't hear from anyone else.
Mayor, can I ask some questions about this?
Oh, absolutely. Sure, I didn't realize.
Before the good landlord program, does this cost money to the landlords to do an 8-hour training? How, let's talk a little bit more about it.
Yeah, the training, I've seen cities do it with the training and without the training. I think it could go either way. My objective, and this may change from our city management perspective, is I just want a strong city ordinance that if they're not meeting the criteria of, encouraging a drug-free environment, a crime-free environment, and they're being negligent of those properties and it's attracting crime issues, that you would have the ability of, as a council, to revoke like a business license. That's my long-term. As far as the training and stuff, I think it's nice, but it's not a necessity for me. That's just an example of what we've copied from another city, what they're doing in their program. I believe that one is on. They've seen some pretty good success, but I'll give you an example without getting too much detail out there. This particular investment company that owns the problem property we're looking at owns them in different locations. I believe there's one in Tooele, and I want to say there's one in Ogden. As part of our due diligence, we reached out to those police departments, and not surprising to me, there are also major crime problems in that community as well as the other community. It just shows a pattern of negligence where they're just, as long as they're getting their money, they don't care what happens to the properties they own. And my goal is to eliminate that mindset in our community. I can't control other communities, but if we could take care of it here, that's my ultimate objective. Now, Lyle, to your point, in some places, it might lower the fee of a business license if they agree to be part of the program. I've seen different ways to incentivize people to be, I guess, proactive in that. But the biggest is you have a good, clean community with good tenants and you have very little problems, and we're helping you achieve that. So it makes sense for them from a business perspective. It makes sense for the city from a criminal deterrent perspective.
I think this looks and sounds like a great idea, and obviously it is with other cities, but I mean, when you start thinking about how you would, we got lots of ownership outside of the state who own rentals right here in Tremont, and so it's going to be really tough to enforce this.
Yeah, well, I've talked to Dustin about it, and we have some contacts. I'll give you an example I have is from Kearns. We used a similar program to take care of a problem business that had existed for 10 plus years and had ties to a gang cartel organization. ultimately, the city was able to revoke that business license and it removed that from that city, which drastically had a positive impact on the crime rate. So I think if we come together and we write it correctly, I think we could hold them accountable. My opinion is if they start getting the notices that we can send after we have that city ordinance, a lot of time that's enough to motivate them to take care of the problems. Because they're probably having issues in their community that frankly, they're just not aware of because they're not properly managing it. And it's usually the outside businesses that invest from other states in our community. So, but yeah, I can show you on paper how much more crime they have. And my concern is for my officers and their safety, because we have certain individuals that we know in our community that are a major threat and dangerous, and they just are neglectful. They're aware of those problems, or maybe they're not aware of them, but either way, it's causing a longer, bigger problem for our police department in our city.
So if we approve the consent agenda for this, we're just saying, yeah, go ahead and proceed with looking into it. We're not approving any new, okay.
That would come
All right.
later. This would just get us on that path to draft that city ordinance, and then you guys would have the ability to approve or
Okay.
disapprove that.
Thank you.
Okay. Got your questions answered?
Yep.
Any other questions?
All right, so let's go on to the second part of our consent agenda. That's the discussion of bids to remove the trees on Main Street. We had three companies, bonded companies that put in bids. Right now, the bid, let's see, Carl, I'll let you guys go ahead and talk about this.
Thank you. The tree board met on the 7th and had a little presentation about the trees on Main Street. There's 24 trees. They are honey locust trees. Honey locusts grow between 60 to 80 feet in height with about a 35-foot span. So the trees that are there are quite large for what should be there. There's also, we have pictures of diseased trees, trees with borers, damaged trees that are not doing well. Also pictures of the sidewalks, how heaved they are, and they are a danger, a tripping hazard to anyone walking down Main Street. And so the tree board ultimately decided that to present to the council to remove those trees because of those hazards and the height of the trees and the damage they're doing to the buildings, the leaves getting on the roofs causing roof leaks and clogging drains and such. So we did reach out to, I'll let Carl take over this part. He reached out to, I know, several local companies, and I'll let him explain his findings.
Well, I think one of the good pieces of news is that the cost for this project is significantly less than we anticipated that it could be. And part of the reason for that, and I think it was probably Wes or somebody on the tree board suggested that if we could cut up, well, we're not going to cut up, but if we haul off the larger wood, it would cut the cost down quite a bit. And so what they're going to do is come in, shred, chip, whatever, everything that's smaller than 4-inch, everything that's bigger than that, they'll cut it up into chunks that we can follow them up with our city trucks and employees and haul that wood off. And we actually have people that could benefit and would want that wood. And so that's also a benefit, but it really reduced the cost a lot. Logistically, the idea is to get the project done in a week's time, and we don't have to close down any of the lanes of travel along Main Street. What we do have to do is close one side of parking along one block at a time, and they can just go through and be able to do their work, and we'll follow them up and they'll clean up, and it should work out pretty good. We've got all the permits in place.
We would like to be able to award the job to All Pros Tree Service, who was the lowest bid. Everybody met all the qualifications. They're all bonded. They're all licensed, that kind of thing. So it's ready to go. Yeah.
Mayor, if I may, just a quick comment. These bids come underneath the procurement requirements per our policy. And it's something that is a project that, based on the recommendation of the city council to the tree board, and then the tree board made a decision with regard to the removal of the trees. It's something that could have just been done based on the budget and the procurement policies and bids requirements that we have. However, in a recognition of the public nature of these trees and how this is going to be something that is really kind of under the microscope. We wanted to make sure that you guys knew what was going on and had a chance to have this on the consent calendar as for your approval. Again, in recognition of the very public and kind of upfront nature of what's going to be done. If we were just taking out trees at a park or something like that and we're going to replace them, we would probably not bring this in front of you. However, Main Street is kind of the front door of the city and the heart of the city. And so we wanted to make sure that you guys knew what was going on and had a chance to look at it and view it and vote on it.
And along with Bill's comments also, we could have done it as staff in-house, but we felt it was important to go through a local company that was bonded, that could do it in a timely manner instead of dragging this out months. We believe that they can do it in a week and get it taken care of. And then our staff isn't tied up for months trying to.
I just want to confirm.
The steering committee also recommended the removal of the trees, right?
Yeah.
So it's been
Yeah,
recommended by the tree
Councilmember
board.
Vance did a great survey and got a lot of good input from the merchants and property owners on that. So.
Question.
Yeah.
When you cut these trees down and you stump grind them, part of the problem we have is cement's coming up because roots and everything. How do we address that in the future? The deep roots, are we gonna go through and take those out with a tractor or do they take all that out? They can't take
No.
it out with cement on top of it.
What we plan to do now is just make sure that we poison them to make sure that they don't send up runners or anything like that. But we are waiting for the larger scale direction of what we're going to do in Main Street. I don't think that we've all come to a consensus on that yet. But I think that will solve the problem for the time being.
Some of those, the cement around some of the trees is heaved up. Can we sort of remove that tripping hazard?
So that's what we'll have to look at that. For the tree itself, the stump itself, we plan on purchasing probably quite a few chainsaw blades so that we can get it flush with the ground. And then there are 2 trees that are been down already on Main Street that's what they are. They're cut flush. If we go in with a grinder, we will be damaging the concrete more, and I don't know if we're in the process yet to do anything with that, with replacement of those. So that was the plan, is to grind them flush with the current level of the concrete, and then take care of treatments so that they don't have any grow back or anything like that. Then in the future, when we do have the Main Street project happen, they'll come in and take care of the roots and different things.
I think from a safety perspective, if we've got, like the mayor said, if we've got any cement that's up that's a tripping hazard, especially with the tree out of the way that people can't run into anymore, we probably ought to take some of the money we saved and grind that cement off and make it safe for people to walk.
That's kind of where I'm at.
Yep, for sure. That's not an issue at all. I think we can do that.
Any other questions, council?
I need to mention something here. Do you know the names of the people that own these companies?
Put me on the spot, but I mean, I know who I talked to, for sure.